Oh, there you are. Welcome to it. It is the Slyso TV podcast. It's almost like I haven't seen you in forever. Yeah, but as I take off my spectacles and say, welcome to the Slyso TV podcast, let's welcome the Queen in the building. And there she is. Hi, guys, we need to up production on
Welcome
this thing.
back.
How long are we going to keep doing this? Ngomlom?
Oh man.
How's the
Hey
Queen
guys,
doing?
hey everybody. I'm good. I'm good. Kicking off the second. Can you believe it? Well, that's the second time of the year already.
Hey.
I feel like the Nyaga is just rolling us over, and
Mm.
we have no choice but to keep things moving. But all good, man. How are you?
Very well. I'm
Yeah.
not complaining. You guys
Mhm.
left me on the lurch, I think, for about 2 episodes, but I'm fine. I'm just fine. Not complaining. Yeah.
Listen.
Okay. It's
Somebody's
okay.
got to take one for the team sometimes. But here we are. We're back with a bang.
Yeah, we are back, and once again, I think just a formal apology. As far as Sisa is concerned, that means that we're gonna be without our music feature, and we're
Yeah.
also gonna be without our movie review, as we afford him 90, well, it's probably less than 90 days now.
Yeah.
That he needs for personal reasons. So we're just going to be sailing this ship, just the two of us.
Good. And I mean, we sending Usisa all the love and hugs and everything good, so that he can make his full recovery.
Yes, yes.
Um, yeah, and that's science, Ajani, with our entertainment because we're always looking forward
Dude,
to
we're not laughing
everything.
already.
Like, movies, we don't know what we're going to do over the weekends, and of course the music review, but hopefully he's going to make his comeback very soon.
No, definitely. But one thing very interesting, I haven't shared. I think people are gonna have to find out on our social media platforms. I had a very good, idea or reason
Yeah.
to take it out of today's episode and sharing what we're going to have. But we've got a new beautiful feature that is coming up. It's called the Biz Rap podcast, and it is broadcast by a guy who's a well-to-do when it comes to entrepreneurship, when it comes to business. He is looking after, I think, over 150 business incubations in South Africa. This is how big this person
Wow.
is, and he's going to be joining us from next week. I'm not going to give out the name, but keep the name. Yeah, the Bees Rap podcast with BB. I'm just gonna give you his initials, and
Oh.
it ends there.
Jeez, talk about teasing us. And of course, I like anything to do with entrepreneurship and business because we are always trying to make sure abantu sebakhulisa and plugging, people
Yeah.
on the side and entrepreneurs. Yeah,
and
that's
and I think most beautiful about it is that he's not just saying you need funding, go there. You need to write a business plan, go
sure.
there. His whole theme on the podcast is about the mindset of that's his tagline, the mindset of an entrepreneur. So basically, not just you getting the opportunities or getting funding or writing a business plan, but where your mental state needs to be when you're starting a business, because it is totally different, especially when it's your own sole what you call it, source of income, you know.
Income, yeah.
Yeah, because as an entrepreneur, you must remember that if you need petrol to go somewhere to a meeting, it is out of your pocket. Petrol, data, going to places to get your branding and do all of these things, access to markets, and actually doing a study, of who your target market is. How do I
Yeah.
capture these people and all of that? So it's a very interesting one that I'm really looking forward to. And this evening I've got a lot of surprises. Yes, 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 because y'all decided to stay awake.
Because we were not allowed. Okay, hit me. What you
So
got?
It was a couple of weeks ago, and the programs you moved so very quickly. I think I shared at some point that I was attending um, AIDC and Taz's um,
Yes.
round table around the automotive space. I'm very keen on that. And they were discussing logistics, how to move these vehicles, and also speaking to the disruption. A lot of people call it, around the Chinese imports and stuff like that. And it was attended by the MEC here in Gauteng, Honorable Mayile. I've got a longer version of that. It will go onto the website. But today I've got two very interesting. It's one part of two episodes of those interviews, because one of the privileges that I really have to say thank you to AITC for was put me in a room with role players. I'm speaking to the acting CEO at the Durban Ports, at the Durban Harbour, and we're also speaking to a giant, very, very, very intelligent gent, Anele Geza, who is Chief Financial Officer and Vice President of BAIC. SA, BAIC being the Chinese car manufacturer. So I've got those two very beautiful interviews that are coming up for you to tonight. So I'm very excited about that. Yeah. And from your end, we've seen the Omotosos walking free. We've seen the Cwecwe stuff going, amok. Very interesting.
Look, it's looking very bleak right now. That's what I can say from the like the GBV fight front. It's not looking good. It's not looking good for our legal system as far as protecting young girls and protecting women in South Africa. It just is not a very. It hasn't been a very good week, Slyso. We were at in Grahamstown in during the lecture, yeah, the memorial
Yes.
lecture, and just after that, having engaged with the minister, and then we learn about all these outcomes. And of course, so for someone who is an advocate for women's rights and children's rights, and just human rights in general, it's not a good look. It's not a good space that we're in right now.
Yeah, and I think one of the latest that I've picked up. Obviously, there's the whole noise around what's his name, Omotoso, and him being freed. And I even saw Julius Malema threatening him, saying, "Hey,
Yeah,
uh, zizawuduma baba uphuma kwakho apho." But like, you know what I mean. I think for
yeah.
me that is a bit that is a bit careless, I think.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens when people are frustrated because, again, we are being let down by systems that are supposed to do what they're supposed to do in making sure that, abantu abanalo tata who have, violated many, many vulnerable people, young girls should actually be, punished. And then we see them walking, and you ask yourself, "Mana, what happened? Where did, things go
Hmm.
wrong?" And after 8 years, so I think it's just disappointing and frustrating, really, that Kubaku setbacks as lost trouble that will have e-culprits just walking free. And I mean,
Hmm.
we know that Omotoso is likely going to run back to his country, and even if there's now going to be a challenge, which is
They
going to
caught him
happen.
leaving the country, didn't they? The last time he was caught at the airport. Apparently, he was
Yes,
skipping
of
in
course. You
in
think he's gonna stay in
2017 when he
South
was
Africa?
captured.
Yeah. So it's I don't know. It's just yeah, it's just a very very frustrating time. And I try to get exactly what went wrong. We're just hoping that, of course, there's going to be appeals because there is no way that you can have someone who has so many counts of rapes just being let
Walking
free,
scot free.
walking scot free.
and,
Yeah.
and very interesting as well. What I picked out on media platforms is the fact that the NPA is drawn in because apparently they are to an extent to blame. You will remember, I mean, like this case has dragged on for quite a long time, and I
Yes.
think there was a lawyer that passed on who was leading, and then there had to be a new one that comes in.
Yes.
All these processes, and I think the latest that I got was they said that one of the country's most senior judges has set out damning evidence showing high levels of incompetence and deceit. Now I can understand incompetence. When there's deceit, then that means that there's something deliberate, right?
Yes.
I
Yes.
think
That's
that's
what
what
it is.
that's
Yeah.
what it means, and I think people can read there in the ticker, the you know, like a bit about that story, and thanks to the Daily Maverick, which is where we picked it up as our source, and that led to Lusanda Lusa Sulani, kwakunye noZukiswa Sito, and Omotoso obviously walking free, and I think
Yeah.
I'm just tying it because in part we're gonna be talking about on your topic on the motivational moment this evening
Yeah.
centers around such issues.
Yeah, yeah, and it's I think it speaks to a serious issue in terms of the is it an issue of incompetency, or is it an issue of sabotage within the judiciary itself? When it comes to these
Mm,
cases, something is fundamentally wrong though in the justice system, and it needs to be looked at, because there is no way there is no way we will have such things happening.
yeah.
And I mean, if we're going to talk about incompetency at a judicial level, then it's scary, because what do you mean? How do you appoint people?
Eh, Funny you should mention that, because now I'm thinking of the case, the JP case. All
Yeah.
right. The judge president,
Yes.
and the case with Inkawana and all of that. Um, you know, there's just a lot going on around our judiciary, and it's very
Yes.
scary
Yes.
that we have people of this caliber,
Yeah.
being painted, or or having so much to do with breaking of the law. So it's going to be very interesting. And obviously, I mean, still talking about that, Queen, we still have this in our hands, around the whole Cwecwe case, where the whole country, yeah, Ngakama, and evidence and all of this, and
Yes.
yeah.
Again, I'm just besides myself, because I just ask myself about now, what exactly is going on? Why are people in positions of power so committed to protecting perpetrators? Why are people so committed to just kind of like hiding things, and not assisting victims and families and everybody that is suffering because of incidents of low trouble. I
Mm.
have no way of just understanding that part. So when I saw this, the question that I asked myself is that, to what end? What is he going to contribute when he is now lying to the public about information that he knows is everybody's waiting, everybody's looking in anticipation, and making sure that again, justice is served for a young girl.
Yeah, I think there's a lot going on where, as far as the minister is concerned, you will remember that even who is our, I think the Bay of the Law in Durban, um,
Mm.
Mkhwanazi, ne?
Um,
Yeah, yeah,
Banel.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. I see the guy. I see the short.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
he's also come out. He's had an interview where, to an extent, it implicates the Minister of Police once
Wow.
again.
Wow.
Where he's concerned, you must remember that IP decided to investigate him after he presided over a case, and apparently
Mm.
the person who
I
was
saw
being
that.
accused. Yeah,
Yes.
so it's a whole quagmire. And I'm thinking, in South Africa, and I remember listening to this one radio show from our sister station, where they were saying, I mean, like, he was even a caller, and he says that from the top of your head, from the top of your mind, when you say president and virtues such as trust
Yeah.
and believing in him, do those
Yes.
things come to mind when someone mentions the president of the country? And the answer was no, because there's the whole pala pala thing here. I almost said pala
Yes.
pala.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
TKZ. There's the whole pala pala thing. So obviously, for him not taking the country into his confidence, the issue of who funds him, those things, when you say president and you want to talk about virtues, you want to talk about values, you're not thinking of him. You move down the scale, you go to ministers. A minister is accused of something. All of the people that are sitting there, almost all of them have accusations that have not been tested and proven in court. They are, once again, people who are in the top structures of our society. There is no speaking of trust. And now the question is, why do you think it's not gonna be easy for a person who works a day job to say that, if we can't trust the president, who cares if people don't trust me? I'm gonna steal. I'm gonna do all of these things. It's just
Exactly.
something for South Africans to to think about. It's a very interesting show. It's very long. We also have I just picked up as well as I was coming back. The DA and AfriForum. Yes, it's a different fight altogether now. It's with my mother brand, my employer. On the other side, in my other gig, the
Oh
SABC.
gosh.
Apparently, over 300,000 people are not accessing Afrikaans news, and apparently they are taking the SAPC to task and to court around that. That is AfriForum and DA. But very interestingly, I just picked up the story. You will see the sources. I will share them with you. I just picked it up, and there was no response. And I'm asking myself, in terms of journalism, you have to balance your story. You have to
Yeah.
have the AfriForum, you have to have the DA speaking. You also need the accused or the SAPC saying that these are the reasons, and those reasons were not given by the time I was looking at that particular story. So I don't know what the latest will be. It might be on the news as we speak. I'm not sure, but that's just some of the stuff that's going on in the country. Looking at the time, we're getting closer. I'm gonna play one of the interviews that we had, and one was with as I'd indicated, to Mr. Ben Mazri, all the way from Durban, who formed part of the speakers. He was one of the speakers at AIDC Taz's round table. The Gauteng round table on the automotive industry, and speaking largely on logistics. You will remember, I think it was 2003, where there was a blockage of ships that were coming in from China and all other countries. These are things we were touched on. And on this short interview, it's about 3 minutes, 3 and a bit minutes. He explains what they are up to now to make sure that there's free movement, not only of automobiles, but like developments around there as well. I think let's get
It's
into
the Slyso
it.
TV podcast.
Oh,
Obviously, I forget to take off my spectacles for you, my beautiful viewers, so I cannot see you properly. Now we are still at the Northern Corridor Logistics Roundtable event, which was organized by the AIDC along with TAZES, and basically bringing together role players or stakeholders. Last year they were looking at EVs, and this year the focus is on logistics, how to get these vehicles moving, and obviously keeping us road users safe as well. And joining me this time around, Mr. Nkumbuzi Ben Mazwi, who's acting port manager at the Port of Durban. Sir, good afternoon and welcome to the Slyso TV podcast.
Good afternoon, Slyso. I hope we are great. Looking forward to the engagement.
The Northern Corridor roundtable itself, I mean, any takeaways from you as far as it is concerned?
No, thank you very much. I think from a Transnet National Ports Authority point of view, as the Port of Durban is part of that division, it was a very, insightful event in terms of talking about logistics, a topic that I'm very passionate of. and in particular, to the type of stakeholders that we held, and the level of discussion. And I think the program director as well, Slyso, played a very vital role to make sure that the engagements are at a certain level. So thank you to her. And there were a lot of things that we discussed. At the end, during my presentation, you will see that I was trying to tie them up, because there was a lot of discussion on corridor, which was done by Transnet, Freight Rail, and TRIM. And we also spoke a lot about from a funding point of view, from an IDC point of view. So that was a good discussion as well in terms of what was happening in that space. With AXA as well, Usis Mpomi coming in there, just giving the other side in terms of modes of transport that we use, that there's air freight that could be
and
used.
what is possible.
And what is possible that could be done with it. So, it was challenging and stimulating from a thinking point of view. So based on that, for me, the whole exercise was a success. Well done to AIDC, well done to TASAS. I think the roundtable touched on critical issues, and in particular, if you talk about the northern corridor, which is between Gauteng and the KZN, in particular the Port of Durban. There are a lot of volumes that goes through there that was touched at it, that at the end of the day, that it's very critical for the economy of Gauteng. And for us at the receiving end as well at the port, it's important that we understand that. For me, there was a lot of learning as well, and notes that I took as well, that, okay, this is what is expected from the Port of Durban. Yeah, the MSC, touched on very critical issues, starting with the congestion, vessel congestion, talking about the ranking of the port, all of those issues. But we were working on those issues as I responded at the end.
Oh, wow. Mr. Benmazwi, I really would not like to keep you. Obviously, there's still some panelists that I still need to talk to, and they're just unpacking the event. I'd like to thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you very much, Slyso.
Oh.
Thanks.
There you have it. There you have it.
Wow, 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 wow. Sure.
Yeah, it was a very insightful, very interesting. I think part of what we spoke about, because my passion always is young people, because I look at the state of the country right now and thinking, where are these people going to find jobs? Are these people motivated? I mean, given our education system, are they motivated to think just beyond just a regular job and find careers in other places? When I spoke to Mr. Benmazwi, he shared about, they've got helicopters, that are part of, I don't know the specific function, but when I listen to him speak, obviously you can tell it's edited, for the podcast and time purposes as well. Saying that like they actually would like young people to actually come. Remember back in the day when people would go to the SABC and then and then other ones would visit. So it's something similar to that. And later on, I'm gonna play it last because it's about 12 minutes. Very insightful. The second interview with Mr. Anele Geza, the Chief Executive Officer, Chief Financial Officer, and the Vice President of BAIC. You'll remember that BAIC is based in Gqeberha, and there are a couple of questions obviously I put to him around localization, which we have reserved for something else. It's something else to have these beautiful cars that are coming into the country. They are fully imported, but like, are the jobs being created? And I think there was Unkwe at some point around especially the Chinese plants that are in Gqeberha. So this one is also going to be a two-part, but we also touched on development as well. What is it that they're doing for young people that want to get into these spaces? So it's a very interesting one. Yeah.
I think I love that we bring this aspect, because unemployment is a serious crisis that we're dealing with in South Africa. And we want to give young people ideas when it comes to careers, to think outside the box, outside the norm, outside the traditional approach as far as careers are concerned.
Certainly.
And really, the information is not out there. You would think that it's out there on Slyso, I think there's still quite a lot of misinformation our young people, have, and lack of information, lack of access to this information. But what can I do then?
Where
What
can I
do
get
I?
the? Mm.
Yeah, where do I start even? I mean, we're talking about people just also knowing that going on a cruise is not about just leisure and fun. You can actually work on a cruise. You can
Work there.
jobs, you know.
It's as if you've it's as if you've seen the interview, because that's part of what I talked to
Yeah.
Mr. Keza about around this whole thing of like kids should stop looking at cars as like it's a point of it's a means of getting from point A to point B.
Yes,
Have
yes,
you ever thought about being the guy who is responsible for innovation around
yes,
the windows,
yes,
all
yeah.
of these things? Think of yourself as a role player, in this automotive space, and claim your space as well. I think it is time for us to move on swiftly.
Yep.
And go check out what is going on with this beautiful feature of ours with the Queen. Are we
Let's go.
ready? Are we
Let's go.
ready? Are we
Let's go.
ready? Let's
Do
go.
it. Don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on yourself. It can also be a developmental crisis issue. Keep pushing and stay the course.
Ba, 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 ba. Ba, ba. It's time for the Momo.
Welcome to it, man. Momo with your gold tea, talks to the psychologist. Look, I have missed you guys, and of course, Slyso just talking to you guys. But we knew, man, he's left with in good hands, because you guys ask the questions and you keep us engaged, and of course, you respond to the content, and we love that. So today is a bit of a bitter one. It's not even a bitter sweet. There's no sweetness into this topic today, because it's coming from the issue, the burning issue right now, which is Cwecwe. Everybody knows the story, Cwecwe. We are still calling for justice for Cwecwe. What is sad, Slyso, is that this story is not just about Cwecwe anymore. It's about all the little girls, all the girls that have been violated, that have been abused. It's about all the girls who still are being abused, who still have to face the rapists, molesters on a daily basis. And so I think the reason why this story is very touching, it's because we know, as parents we know, as women we know, as people that are living in South Africa who care about one another, who care about the well-being of children, we know there are so many Cwecwes out there, and that's why it's so devastating for us. And we really cannot we cannot be disappointed, we cannot be let down by the justice system when it comes to this, because it will be sending a very wrong message to our kids, and it will really be telling us in Dogbana, South Africa really does not care about its future, which is the young people, that need to be protected. So I wanted, in that context, with that context in mind, to talk about just the effects of rape, because we don't always talk about as GBV at a high level, talking about GBV in relationships, adults. We never talk about children. They're almost on the sidelines, and unless you intentionally work with children, you will know that there are serious issues that children are dealing with in South Africa. From poverty to access to education to neglect from parents. And so what are the psychological effects of rape or abuse when it comes to children? And I'm gonna talk about this just at a general level, because I don't want to lose people. I want to talk about just the things that you will remember and you will be mindful of. I'm talking to parents, but I'm talking to Omalume, I'm talking to Omagazi, I'm talking to Okazin, I'm talking to everyone who interacts with the child somehow. But you know that the child, generally or naturally, a child is a vulnerable person. Umdana has no control over the environment. and they are vulnerable because they can't really make decisions about themselves. They depend on the adults. They depend on the people that are supposed to protect them. So when a child is abused, that is, when people, abantu abadala, take advantage of abantwana because of their innocence, because of their naivety, because they are vulnerable, because abakakhulu, abakabhadli, you know, it is very, very wrong, and it's very devastating and has serious negative impact on the child's psychological well-being, ne-growth yomntana affected nje ngendlela engekho right. One of the things that you need to do as umzali is you need to look at your child, umjonge into okubana umntanakho ukhululekile na apha endlini. Is your child free to express themselves? Because if they are not, you know, if umntanakho ungumntana ozibambileyo, ungumntana nje onoloyiko, it could be a sign that something is wrong. Someone is doing something to your child that's making the child to be very fearful of their surroundings. It's very important as abazali, it's very important as omakazi, omalume, and people that are protecting the children, teachers, you know, abantu basecaweni, people that interact with abantwana. It's very important to listen to a child. If umntana reports that something happened, even if they cannot articulate it, but you can tell that this thing that has happened bothers this child. This thing that has happened, you can read from their emotional responses, how they tell the story. You know, you need to investigate. You need to find out what exactly has happened here. What is affecting umntana, because the abuse does change umntana, imchinje imenze umuntu engengoyanga. Sexual abuse and sexual violence will also, you know, have traumatic effects on the child. Umntana uyakwazi ubana ngoku athi mhlambe bekhula kakuhle, uyakwazi uzinxibisa, uyakwazi uziyele toilet, ubona umntana ngoku ebuya umva, you know, aqala uchama azichamele ngoku, you know, aqala umntana ngoku aecte ngathi ngumntana omncinci. So umntana akho ebekhula ngoku ematurisha, suddenly umbone ebuyela back now. Childish. Those are signs zobana lo mntana vulnerable. Something is happening. It's making the child feel as though they are not safe. They literally want to be held. They want to be protected. Those are things that you have to look out for. What is happening also in the child's development, ukukhula kwakhe umntana kuyaphazamiseka xa kukho abuse. Njani umntana uyakwazi ubana njengoba ehlala apha ekhayeni enabazali bakhe, enomakazi bakhe, enobani bakhe abathandayo, abamkhulisayo, uthi xa eviolatewa into eyenzekayo ufumanisa uba lo mntana le nto ngoku ufuna uyenza kwabanye. So ufumanisa uba nomntana akho when they play udlala very aggressively because unale anger anayo ayikhuphele kwabanye, okanye umntana akho inappropriate nabanye abantwana, you know, ufuna ngoku kwenza izinto zabantu abadala kwabanye abantwana. So those are things that you also need to watch out for, is that when a child starts to exhibit behavior or when I matured le nto yenziwa ngulo mntana compared to age yakhe, it's a sign that something is not right, because we want to appeal. That's a question that you should be asking yourself, especially if you are a person that knows the environment is controlled, inappropriate TV, you know, because there's also that. But when umntana is being violated, Slyso, that's why we'll have kids at school who play, you know, who play out something inappropriate because that's something that is being done to them. So you also have to listen to the teacher when the teacher says, "Hi man, you know, are you appropriate for age?" It's a sign that something is going on and or child is being violated. The other one that happens is that because abuse, what it does is it's a violation of your personal space mostly. So that means that lamdana ke ngokukula engena understanding your boundaries. Umntana that has been violated or abused, uzambona ngongabi na boundaries. Xa efika umalume uSlyso afika afuna ukhwela phezu kwakhe, you know, afuna umhaka. Ufumanisa ubana lo mntana has no idea about personal space, you know. This is a child who has not been taught also, Bana, you are not touched by strangers on certain parts of your body, right? So gumdana that will, even a stranger, they will just go and hug a stranger. Umntana naturally, okhula environment, they're protected, okhuliswa kakuhle Slyso, uzaba ne-reluctance when it comes to new people or strangers. You know,
Yes.
inalando yobana be-distance, that's a normal reaction. It's appropriate. It shows ubana lo mntana uyayazi uba utata ngubani, umalume ngubani, umakazi ngubani, uyayazi uba a stranger, you know, is somebody that I have to be careful with. Umntana ongenazi boundaries also indicates ubana they themselves haven't had protection around their own boundaries. Somebody is also violating their boundaries, their personal boundaries, that is their body. So they have no sense of their body and the other people's bodies. So, and it becomes very sad because lamdana uzawukhula enalando ufike ke ngoku sithiwa yo umaturishe quickly lomdana. That thing of maturing very quickly komdana, it's also another sign about lomdana was violated because they start to engage in sexual relationships very early on because they have been taught ubana they must just, you know, allow anybody to touch them. So you will find that this child is going to grow up to be a very promiscuous person, you know, promiscuous youth here very carefully, you know, in that akanayo boundaries when it comes to their body. And also lomdana doesn't feel ukuthi they have a choice to choose, right? They feel that any person that shows interest, you know, they must allow that person. So ukula engumdana that will struggle with intimate relationships because unalando yokubana I must always give part of me, you know? Because they were never protected and told what is self-worth, you know, how do you take care of your body and how do you love yourself. So their self-worth is very low, their self-esteem becomes very damaged. And this child can also grow up Slyso, with serious anger in their heart internally because they know something happened here, something wrong happened here. So this is a child who will grow up very angry towards adults, very angry towards men. If it's a boy, you know, he will grow up very angry, you know, towards women because women also violate boys, by the way. And we mustn't look at it one-sided. They get violated, they get molested also, you know, by abantu abangomama who are supposed to protect them, by, you know, neighbors and, you know, friends who are supposed to protect them. So very important that we understand that children across the board get violated and abused, and the effects, the mental health effects are very serious. Lamdano ingwengwe akhule engumntana violent, you know, singayazi wakuthela umuntu violent towards women kanti une-anger, you know, that comes from their childhood, where they were violated and things were done to them. They never spoke about these things. So there's so many signs that you can look up and you can notice ka umntana enziwe le nto. And of course umntana once aqala obsessed with body parts also. You know, it's a normal curiosity when they start to grow and become aware of their bodies. But when a child is particularly focused and fixated on a particular part of a body, you must question that. Why is the child very interested in upper area, you know, and start to probe, right? And one of the most important parts that I want to part Slyso with is that abazali must create a safe environment for children to come to them and talk to them when something wrong, when something unusual is happening to them. We see a lot of young children suffering in silence because bayoyika to be judged by their own families. Boyika, ukubana, you know, abazu believer. And remembering that, Slyso, the abuser makes sure that the child, you know, does not tell. They make it a point that they will scare the child, you know, they will threaten the child. They will say things that will make this child, if I tell, my family could be in danger. Abusers or pedophiles, you know, what they do is that they play in the psyche of a child because they can manipulate that child. So if you tell mama Mama is gonna, you know, burn, you know, or your family, you're never gonna see them again. So abusers are very, very skillful when it comes to dealing with children and trying to protect the you know, by making sure that the child doesn't tell. So it's very important that to understand that not every child is going to be able to articulate the abuse, but there will be behavioral issues that you notice that are unusual, right? Especially when there's a shift in personality, because also what happens is that rape changes the psyche, it changes the identity of a child. Umntanakho, after being raped or when they're being abused, they'll never be the same again. So you have to pay attention. I-personality yomntana wakho injani, ungumntana oquiet, ungumntana obubbly, ungumntana, othanda uhleka, ungumntana oserious, because there will be a shift that you will see that is very unusual, and you need to make sure that you do something about it. And I think, lastly, we need to do better. We need to make sure that abantwana, we must do what we can. We must make sure that every child, grows up in a safe environment. They grow up feeling loved. They grow up feeling violated. They grow up knowing that they have adults who will protect them, who will do whatever it takes to make sure that they also have a chance healthy, who can flourish in life. And when something happens to a child, but when something bad happens to a child, I think as a society we need to stop this thing. City family must deal with it. We need to do exactly what we are doing with Cwecwe. We need to make sure we call out these perpetrators. We need to make sure that we make noise, because I think perpetrators are becoming very comfortable now, in doing these acts, because they know that sometimes sizawuyekela nje, kumntu omnye, and I think they need to know that we will not sit back and allow for umntana ofana noCwecwe enziwe, enziwe into eyenziwe kuCwecwe and just take it. We will not take it, and we will not stop until we see something. Someone must go behind bars. Someone must be, held accountable. And of course, Slyso, justice will have to be served, whether or not, umntana can speak for themselves. But there are tests here that were done. There are medical results here that were done, and that's the other thing. I hear the conversation around, but the child, didn't necessarily say they don't know who. But the point is that there was a medical examination that was done that proved that something, inappropriate happened to a child. The child was violated. Period. And we as adults, we have a responsibility to find out about who did this, and how did this happen. And I think we also have as abazali to play a more active role in education. We mustn't just send abantwana esikolweni and then we need to make sure are they happy at school, what's going on at school. So take more interest in your child's school attendance, find out when sekandoni right, what kind of punishment are they given. Make sure that you engage your child so that you can not sit around umntanakho uya esikolweni engathandi ngaphakathi uyalimala every time uma endlini. So we need as parents to not just be abazali, virtual. I see a lot of parents who are just like, we are virtual parents. We need to be fully present in the lives of our kids so that we can pick up immediately when something is wrong.
That is her story, and she's sticking to it. Thank you very much, Queen. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, right there, at the bottom there, msinganatobega@gmail.com. And of course, hit her up as well on 073 421 3360. That is what you have. It's a very interesting topic. It's a very touchy topic because it's odd, and I'm just listening. This centers around it centers around an act that was designed for reproduction. We innovated into it being of pleasure, and now it is a tool that is being used as a form. And I'll never forget when someone said that when you speak of rape, you are not actually speaking about the act. You are speaking about somebody showing power. And I'm thinking, as this man, as big as I am, on a child, what kind of power? Then that definitely means that there is something missing, kum as a person. And talking about young men being violated as well, and these people turn out to be beasts. They turn out to be these rapists, because as a man, you're not allowed to talk about this thing. I what insists, why would you, and all of this, the patriarchal nonsense that falls into it. And yet the child is suffering, and they grow up and they say, hey, I'm 18, I need to take a stand, I need to you know what I mean, like the whole the psychology behind it. And the question I ask is, once again, it goes back to schools. I remember speaking to my son and my nieces when I decided they were coming of age, and I'm like, oh shit, I need to have this conversation with these motherfuckers. Let me sit them down. Come here, close are getting the beds and the bees now. Like, we are panicking now, we are being and I'm not doubting that they've had those conversations with their mothers and other family members, but I just wanted to make sure that I do my part. They understand from Utata and Umalume's perspective, and Dokbana, hey, this should not happen, and all of these things. And they sit there. I remember they just laughed at my ass, and I'm like, no, uncle, no, daddy, mama, no dabs, no auntie. We've already had these conversations and stuff. You know what I mean? So I'm late, but I'm thinking there are children who do not have that that privilege. Umama wakuqala waviolatewa, they don't know how to have this conversation with abantwana. Omnye is not exposed, and they don't know how to. And there are child lines, there are rape lines, there are support systems that are out there. Are people not using these, or just from a self-empowering perspective? Do you think there's enough that's being done?
You know what? The whole idea, even of let's just talk about now children. At some point, we must teach our kids, this is your body. No one must touch you here and there. That is already, that tells you, we live in an abnormal situation environment, because no child should be told, you cannot be. The adults must know that they can't touch a child. That I shouldn't have to teach my daughter or my son that because. Understand? Because then it means that we are also burdening abantwana with the responsibility that they should be having to deal with. That means we are also taking away their childhoodness. Where's the freedom of being a child who's freely knowing that the adult is supposed to protect and make sure that you are okay? So it means that there's fundamental issue in our society, right? Where adults are no longer the adults that care, that protect children. So ke ngokufuneka senze izinto, and I think when Slyso, it's not even a matter of abazali are not using these resources, but I think it's again, there's some rot that is happening in our society. There's something wrong, in the adults of our society. Communities, there's so many preventative programs that are happening. There's so many support services that are available. But abantu abadala, adults do not want to grow up and just be, adults. We are dealing with a society where in our communities, we're dealing with also a society of people who are very, very selfish.
One of the safest places, church.
Yes, you understand. So it's a very difficult one. It's very complex, your sexual violence and child abuse and rape, because people that we say, we're talking about a school environment. We trust teachers. Teachers used to be trusted. Because the teacher was a noble person in the community. The teacher rapes umntana esikolweni. You understand what I'm saying? So we live in a world where things, people are just not normal. Adults are just not normal, and something is fundamentally wrong. And unfortunately, it's a difficult one to really deal with.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're gonna leave it there. It kind of like when you talk about teachers, just just in closing, as I was driving
Yeah.
my Uber driver to the Gao and then coming home from work and all of that,
Yeah.
this guy, we talk about he's from Ghana. Like I'm crazy about anyone who comes from Ghana because it's probably like
Yeah.
the only other African country that I've been to, and I've seen how humble those people are amongst each other. I've
Mm,
spoken so largely about it, a lot about it. In terms of like, I remember speaking to this one professor because I had a tour. I decided this other day, you know me,
yeah.
like there was a program that was set out for us to do, and I was like, today there are about 25 radio stations in Accra. I took a guy who was a gardener at the hotel, paid him a little
Yeah.
bit of money, and I was touring and seeing Accra, and we ended up at this one particular radio station. And I was speaking to this professor who was actually, believe it or not, also the station manager and all of that, and doing
Yeah.
all of these things. And
Oh,
I was like, Ghana is so like, I look at us as South Africans, we claim we own El Gama Lobuntu,
mm,
and yet you go to Ghana, those people, they're nice to each other, they're pleasant to each other, they look out for each other,
mm, mm,
and they are inherently born with that. And I thought at some point it's because we were tourists, but I noticed that even them amongst each other, the way they interacted.
mm,
And I was like,
mm,
wow. And part of what we were talking about is the economy, obviously, where we are, and
yeah.
why people, they want to be moguls, they want to be business
Mm,
people. And
mm,
this guy says that we forget one thing as black people, culture. You
yeah.
look at Japanese, one of the first people to do this. Japanese are so big on their culture. That is why the discipline comes from there. That is why they've been able to do, like, well, I'm still leaning on the automotive space. They've been able to come up with innovations. You go to China, the same thing. Those people are
Mm,
so in touch and love their culture. And
yeah.
whatever business philosophy, ways of moving in the world comes from the fact that they love their culture. They embrace
Mm,
their culture. And you look at a diverse country like South Africa with 11 official languages. This one is taught a different way. This one is taught a different way. But a no is
yeah.
a no, And these things, we seem to divorce even our behavior from
Yeah.
culture, from how we were raised.
Yes.
So it's just one of those things. We can say that the government needs to do more. Yes, the judiciary. I mean, given what we've been seeing now, the Department of Education needs to do more. But if you are not going to be part of your child's development,
Yes.
like,
Who?
what do you expect the results to be? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah, Kulando's like we're talking about values here that we must embody, not values that we must recite, I think South African was so good
Right.
at yes, reciting words, that are meaningless, but we're not living that. Ubuntu is not something that you talk about. It's not a theoretical framework. It's a it is a fabric of who we are, and that
Mm.
is I cannot as ndinguthobeka ndive isikhalo somntana kameza ndihlale ndibukele series and not
Like
go
nothing
out
is
and check
happening.
what's happening. You understand? That's what Ubuntu is about.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that somebody can rape a child, that tells you, but we are not in touch with our roots, who we are as Africans, as Abantu.
Yep, Quinn, that is it. I have, well, I think to close it off, and obviously, I'm thinking, I'm missing Uzizi so much, right? I think what I'm going to do is very crazy, and I'm thinking, and I'm pressing, and I'm pressing, and I think, I'm just gonna play his intro just because we miss
Oh,
him.
okay.
All right. I just want to say, guys, we're not going to have the movie review, but we miss our nigga.
We
So,
missed our friend,
oh
man.
man.
And there's our
Let's
mama, and I'm like, no, 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 no,
tune in the theater.
no.
Come down, Zizi, come down. This is how we miss you, bro. Uh, did we
Still at
just?
the
They were
Northern
just.
Corridor Logistics Roundtable.
I guess it's this interview that's been in prep that we're gonna come to. No, no, no. We're gonna do. The crazy one. We are definitely hoping to see him very soon. Queen, yeah, already started. It's about 12 minutes, so I'm going to have both of us off camera and bring us back like 2 minutes before the end of the interview, so that we can stretch our legs and people can really listen to this beautiful interview that also comes from the round table event that was held in Midrand, speaking to trying to alleviate the logistical issues that we have in our country. You must remember, people have been talking about bringing back rail, these trucks on the roads, and how safe are we as drivers, from these truck drivers that are under pressure to go deliver and all of these things. So I think it's something that we really want to listen to. And obviously towards the end, Mr. Geza, we talk about what they're doing for kids. And I think if you're a teacher or if you are in any of these spaces of youth development, you really want to listen to the last part of the interview as well. It's about 12 minutes, but it's worth it. Let's go for it.
Still at the Northern Corridor Logistics Roundtable, which was organized by AIDC together with Tazes. And right now, I've been grabbing anybody that I can who is a role player and quite important for us on the Slyso TV podcast in terms of understanding the automotive space. And with me, I have Mr. Anele Geza, who is BAIC, the CFO and Vice President. Sir, I'd like to welcome you to the podcast.
Thank you, Caesar. Much appreciated.
Oh, sir. Now, first of all, I just want to get your take on today's proceedings, the Northern Corridor Logistics Roundtable. Obviously, it affects you as much as upon you are based in Gqeberha.
Yeah, look, thank you so much, Caesar. I think this is a key topic, not only for the automotive space, but I think for the country. For me, I think it's a national agenda where it needs to be tabulated. And I think the key stakeholders that have really put this together, it just magnified the essence of the need for us to sit around the table and talk about how do we reform our economy by making sure that we put the attention where it deserves. I think as an automotive sector, this affects us heavily. The logistics infrastructure is a key agenda to ensure that from a strategic point of view, we grow our economy and it's sustainable from that point of view.
Yeah, I love that it's stakeholders from different especially government, as we had the MEC as well. Any take from his speech, and obviously coming from the back of the budget speech, which was well, a lot to stomach for a lot of people, that 0.5% and another one next year.
I think we probably at some point in time need to be objective on how we look at how economic reforms are tabulated, especially from a budget point of view. I think at some point we need, as a country, to really reform and reposition our economic space. And that means that we need to have the reserves. We've got lots of challenges in our country, albeit the infrastructure logistic issue that we're talking about. So that cannot be resolved without any commitment, be it funding or collectively as stakeholders. So I think his budget speech was really touching on the essence of firstly recognizing the progress that has taken place from an economic point of view, and how can we as private sector align ourselves to the direction of the economic platform, the budget speech, where government wants to take it. And I think if we positively take it from that point of view, we will probably see the benefits. I mean, investment is a key topic for our country. It needs to be placed at the right place so that long term, we can really yield the return on investment from that point of view. All of us in the industry.
And obviously representing the buzzword right now, Chinese automotive space, and obviously selling like hotcakes. I'm driving one, by the way. I'm not endorsing.
Lovely.
It's my wife's. But obviously, I mean, over the past, I think, round about 2002, or just on the foot of COVID, the Chinese said, we are going out. We don't want a middleman. We don't want this. We are going to the market ourselves, and we've seen it. The beautiful chaos that it has caused, because I mean, like, obviously you have people that have been there for evergreens, and now a new role player that speaks to where the economy is as well. I mean, like, because obviously all of us, we suffered during COVID.
You know what, Slyso, I'll call it not so much a chaos, as you'll say. I'll call it it's a positive disruption to our space. You know, our economy needs dynamic contenders in the space, which means that it calls for the automotive sector to go back and redraw innovative tactics that can align to the agenda of the country. You know, the Asian automotive, including BAIC, in fact, they have placed the issue of radical thinking at the forefront to ensure that as we play in this segment or in this market or in this industry, we need to see how do we create a platform where it's affordable, smart, efficient for the consumers, those who pilot our vehicles. It cannot only be one or two players in the market, that at some point, for the greater good, there is a lack of balance from that point of view. I think aligning with government initiatives, I think they really align these prospects for many to benefit. I'll take it from a product quality point of view. Our vehicles are competitive, they are of quality in nature, they are affordable in many respects than others. They compete respectively. When you see an X55 riding or on the corridors or in the streets, you see a magnetic epitome of a quality vehicle.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I remember talking to one salesperson, I think it was Cherry, and actually saying, because I was asking, like, you know, in terms of LSM, like, who are you looking at? I mean, like, who's your primary customer? He says it's very interesting because obviously you do get the working class because of affordability issues, and you also get the higher LSMs as well, your doctors, your lawyers, that instead of spending R1 million on a particular vehicle, now he can buy himself a vehicle that comes with all the specs and the respectability that you were talking about, and probably for a spouse as well. The AGOA issue, or where are you sitting?
I think the AGOA issue, I'm not going to go in depth into it, but what I would say, as an organization, our focus has been focusing on our competitive advantage. The challenge is the volatility of the economy, the volatility of the geopolitical, geo-economic environment will always place organizations or even a country into difficult circumstances. However, I think our take as an organization, as a business, we're focusing on how we can work smart, navigating those turbulent circumstances. I think as a country, South Africa is going through difficult times. However, as an organization, as a country, we probably need to go back once again, redraw, rethink, and see how we can navigate the storm of these policies, these economic reform challenges that as a country, as an organization, are being affected by. And I tell you, if we do that, we will come victorious. And the Asian brands, including BAIC South Africa, is not going anywhere. It's here to stay. It's here to add value in the economic reform, placing our vehicles in the center of the South African consumers, even Africa, to say the least.
And I really have to say, I mean, like, when you look at the Port of Ngqura and you look at how strategically it's put in a city that actually has a history of car manufacturing, I think I have to commend you on that. It is my passion, I think, as I indicated before we went on camera, to sort of like speak to young people you know, because these are opportunities. These people are sitting with smartphones, they are Googling AI technology, you know, with I think what the president was campaigning on, which is the fourth industrial revolution. And what is it that you probably have to offer a young person in South Africa who needs to stop looking at a car as a means of getting from point A to point B or going to work, and look at themselves as people who actually can contribute towards building them or being part of the value chain?
Yeah, look, you are raising a very central point that is quite critical. I think part of the investment in BAIC, in PE, was really to talk to that. You know, PE or Cwecwe is the central or the economic hub for automotive. There's a lot of intelligence.
It's out Detroit.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's our center of intelligence when it comes to automotive. But as organization, including ourselves, we need to start radically changing the mindset of the young learners to start thinking, how do I become an industrial engineer to design? How do I become a mechanical engineer? My first level of thinking when I'm looking about opportunities, it must be automotive, nothing else. And that's how you create energy, synergy to that direction. Last year, around about June, July, we actually brought all the young ones at the plant at the age between 10, 12 to 14, around about that age, if I'm correct. What we showed them was that they need to start thinking intelligently on how they can be the next engineers. And that's one of the piece that as an organization we want to contribute, not just on a marginal basis, but radically transforming the thinking of the Eastern Cape, so to say, to the greater good of the South African economy, also contributing directly on the automotive sector.
Well, Mr. Keza, it's a pity that I missed that one, because I think it's something that's dear to me in terms of you know, developing young people and getting them, because when you think about it as a South African, you will remember a time if you are pre-94 where you had school tours that went to the airport, and you will develop an interest in being a pilot, and to see that, like, I mean, for companies that are actually entering South Africa, they're already tapping into that. What's in store? Specifically now from BAIC going forth, given these disruptions from tariffs, the economy going through what it's going through, can we look and say it can get better?
I don't want to scare my competitors, and I don't want to say too much, but just watch the space this way. The direction where the organization is going is growth, part of what I've mentioned about skills, yes, how we can contribute, and more so to be competitive globally. And that talks to the policies that a government has put in place, DTIC has put in place, to ensure that the automotive sector becomes a cash cow for our country, so to say. And to that space, it's so important and so dear to us to ensure that we play to that aspect. One thing that I want to share with you, South Africa is considered as a key corridor to the African economy and many other export markets. And that cannot be said without reason. It's a fertile soil for investment. Let's leave it at that. Just watch the space. In the next few months, in the next few years, we will talk again and catch up later on.
All right. And I'm just reminded now, in terms of localization, obviously, whatever plans you have, we'll definitely speak to that as well.
It will be part of that. Definitely.
All right, man. We're saying thank you to Mr. Anele Keza, who is Chief Financial Officer,
yep. Thank you so much.
The Vice President of BAIC. Thank you so much, sir, for gracing us, and all the best.
Much
I look forward to it. In fact, I'm from PE, so when I go down,
we'll make some time. We'll make some time, then you can pop in. Thank you, Caesar.
Much appreciated. When I'm there, so hey, hint. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
Well, there you have it, Queen.
That was, I mean, that is just a very inspiring conversation. Especially gets me excited for young people, because, you know, these are conversations that we did not have access to when we were growing up. And well, now they have devices in their own hands, and they can actually just see this, get inspired, get involved, inquire. Write us a comment, question. If Umzali, hook up your child to see this is the kind of content you can share with your kids, and just say, hey, listen, have you thought about other things to get involved in as far as career is concerned? And Slyso is here to answer the questions. We are here to give some guidance and make sure that Abantwana are just thinking creatively, man. Let's encourage them.
Yep, I was so excited, and I'm sure, like, you heard me when I was like, Mr. Keza, because that's just my passion around, like, kids. Expose them to stuff, and they will amaze you, and to think, companies like the BAIC, South Africa, they've already started doing that, taking young kids, so that I mean, now you must remember, I think up until they're 7 years old, everything for them is like what grabs them almost for the rest of their lives. For them to be introduced to something like car making at such a young age, because when they do those tours when we are in high school, I mean, you've already kind of like been everywhere, and have so many things planted in your head. But for you
Yeah.
to go there while you're still young, so for me, it's just one of those things. I can't wait to get down to Nelson Mandela Bay or Gqeberha, or whatever the hell they call it nowadays.
I mean,
And
this is it's an idea also for Izgolo tours. The tours must be more creative and give kids ideas and inspiration. So take the kids to, instead of taking them to the beach, take them to the plant. Let them see their beautiful cars, how they get to come to be. Yeah, and just have them meet the team behind the scenes, so that they can also see themselves, as the ones that are going to be one day creating this
I know that,
future.
yeah, I know that the VW in what do they call it? Karriere. Yeah,
Yes.
unique nowadays. They have plenty of those tours, and I think there was one that was just so moving for me. Yayingomama baseWisile. They've got these little carts abazenzayo, that take you to the tour, and you see
Yeah.
abamama bangolwesine benxibe ilantika izambatho zabo. And what I'm thinking is like these ladies are old. I mean, like, they've already established careers, or looking into the twilight of their lives. But when they get home and they're excited about seeing how the VW Polo was made, they went to that tour. It's inspiration that goes to the kids as well. So you're never too old to experience what drives the South African economy, and job creation, and inspiring young kids as well. I just want to send a shout out to this sister over here, Masechaba Nosizwe Simuku Gamawam. Thank you very much for all the support. Bendibahleba this other time, Dingokola Izolo with friends, and saying that, on and off radio, I've had people that so believe so much in the Slyso brand, and the different spaces that I occupy. I remember I left Mhlobo for one other radio station, and they were
Yeah.
there telling everybody, we are here now. So my sister Nagu Somdala, thank you very much. And of course, another one of those people that I was given by Kamata is right here as well. Uzake Nkomo. She also had a comment around when we were talking about kids as well. And
Yeah.
speaking of that, as we close it off, mine is to say thank you very much. And I like the fact that, like, we dealt with a rather serious topic,
Yeah.
in the motivational moment, and then to have the vice president of BAIC, South Africa, and chief the financial officer, telling us about inspiring things that kids can get up to, or programs that they could be made a part of. And I think that is our story.
That's our story, and we're sticking to
We're
it.
sticking to it. Yeah. Looking
And it's
forward.
gonna
Next
be,
week is going to be crazy
look,
because, yeah,
yeah. Go ahead.
I'm listening. Okay. I'm excited because if you do not follow us on social media platforms, if you don't subscribe, you're gonna miss out on a lot because some of these conversations are what we are going to have as sort of like your master classes. Because I've been time that I've stepped outside after COVID. I've been meeting a whole lot of beautiful people. There is Sis Nosipo. I'm not gonna share much. She's the first everything in the logistics and the automotive space. She's one person I'm in conversation with. She is an author. She does a lot of programs with young ladies in Alice. All right. Um, mhm. She's I think she's launching her fifth book recently in these coming days. So these are people that we're going to bring, and these people are going to form part of what we call the masterclass podcast. You know, where we sit and we have in-depth conversations with these doyens, these pathfinders, these leaders. You know, who are just humble people that want to share all the experience they have. So yeah, for me that is it. And obviously that feature next week, it's called the Bees Rap podcast, the mindset of an entrepreneur with BB. Watch this space. You were going to say something, Queen?
Listen, I'm just excited. You know, I get so excited for young people when there's so many ideas that are coming up. I mean, of course, we are in touch with reality. We know very well, me and you, but we have a crisis. But it doesn't help to complain and be negative and wallow in pity. I'm one person that I don't like the victim mentality and position. You know, I like to have conversations that will empower a person, you know, and the empowerment starts with the kind of conversations that you're going to have, the kind of people that you talk to, you know, the kind of exposure that you have. And then, you know, ideas are born and, you know, opportunities are born. And that's the only way we can really get our youth inspired and excited. These kind of conversations are exciting.
Wow. Yeah. This is us, guys. And we want to say thank you very much. The next episode is going to be fire. It's going to be crazy. If you're an entrepreneur, you want to be here when that happens. And there's also a gentleman. Yeah, there's also a gentleman that I spoke to in the same roundtable event. He comes from NAMSA. NAMSA is the body that oversees and facilitates for the automotive space in South Africa. They were celebrating 100 years last year, and they also have programs. I got to speak to the gent about programs that they have, because with each and every leader that that I sit with, I want to find out, is your organization doing anything for young people in South Africa? Because we cannot just say that, yeah, what is the curriculum saying? These people are on the ground, they see opportunities for young people. I want them to come and share them with us right here on the Slyso TV podcast. So be on the lookout for that interview on our next episode. Queen, thank you very much. What's in store for you? What are you up to this week?
Oh man, this week I'm doing a lot of traveling in between the campuses, just making sure that we are dealing with the issue of GBV on our campus as well. So a lot of work around that. But I'm also actually just enjoying the wellness space. I've started what people might have seen now in my TikToks, the long
Oh,
walks to
yes, yes, yes,
wellness.
yes. I saw that other one. Ooh. I'm like, okay, somebody fighting.
Yeah, well, not that one, but I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I'm all about wellness, and I always say, you know what, you don't have to overthink it. Your wellness is just something that you can do, you can enjoy, easily accessible, of course, within the realms of safety, and it doesn't have to kind of like, you know,
Cost you.
be hard on your budget. You know, like just get out there, go for a walk, do something physical, take care of your body, because really I think we need to stop overthinking in mental health and wellness and start go back to simple things that we can do. I was also talking to one of my previous clients and talking about, the simple routines that you do on a daily basis can also have wellness aspects into them. So driving to work, what kind of music do you listen to on your way to work? What kind of drink do you have? First thing in the morning, do you reach for a drink, a sweet? Those things, small routines that you can bring vitality, wellness into them. Do those things and start to live a healthy and full life.
Are we ever gonna say goodbye? Because there's something else I want to share with the viewers. Probably you just
Yes, yes,
with
yes.
Slyso
You have
here.
so many things done. Please, this thing over 60 hours is not good because you have so many
Um,
things.
every day I'm hustling,
Okay, out with
hustling,
it. Let's
hustling,
go.
hustling, hustling, hustling. Well, I said my goodbyes on air go Mhlobo Wenene FM as a radio DJ. That's something I've done my entire life and have embraced an opportunity I've been given by the management to sort of like take off the DJ hat and put on my journalism hat, and now have been appointed as the content producer for 123 Pollers, which is our lunchtime show. Yeah, that's very exciting. We've got
That's
very
very
beautiful features.
exciting.
We've got very beautiful features that we've just started. There's one that's already fire. It's called Ndiasnganyo Spansam, where we encourage people to talk about their jobs, what you study to become whatever you are. What are the challenges? What are the things that you enjoy? And to end it off, we say, hey, what song motivates you? So there's that. We have a technology feature. We're talking EVs next week on Monday. We've got obviously the live sessions. We've had what's his name? One of my best performers in South Africa, Vusinova, 2 weeks ago, and last week we had one of the biggest brands and companies in South Africa, Tiger Brands, teaming up with us. We had Uzuko SA, Norma Rakes, performing live. It was just beautiful, and I think if you're a listener, Yomhlobo and FM, that lunchtime show, 123 Pollers, wait up, it's gonna be popping.
Oh man. Okay. Let's see you. Right.
Yeah. We're trying. Queen,
Of
I think we're
course, be modest.
to the end of the
Inspire us, man.
road.
Inspire us.
Yeah. Quinn, thank you very much. We'll close it off.
Let's
All
go,
right, there you
guys.
have it, my people. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. See you on episode 28.